Word up, Skippy. This is Subsistor welcoming you to the inaugural update for Subsistence. While the game has been around a while, the channel here is brand spanking new, so we're going to start with the Alpha 5.5 update and just pretend that I've been around the entire time. Sound good? Too bad, that's what we're doing. Anyhow, winter's here, so you'd better grab yourself a nice hot double and settle in by the old wood stove. We're going to get you all warmed up with a freshly baked slice of warm, toasty update goodness. Let's rock. The Alpha 5.5 patch dropped in January 2021 and brought with it a whole host of changes. Among those are some new features, but more importantly, there are a number of quality of life changes which should make subsisting in the harsh world a whole lot more fun, if not easier. Let's get down to brass tacks, shall we? With the addition of being able to chop holes in the ice, that also means that you can now descend into the lake and swim to reach the underwater caves during winter. That is if you don't mind going from an outie to an innie. No more being frozen out of the caves by Old Man Winter for months at a time. Huzzah! If you do elect to take the icy bath, keep two things in mind. Firstly, you can exit the water by moving closer to the hole and vaulting out. But more importantly, those ice holes will eventually refreeze over, regardless of your proximity or distance to them. What a bunch of ice holes. Anyway, this means you have to make sure your axe is in tip-top condition before you go out for that polar bear swim, because you're gonna need to chop a hole in the ice to get back out of that lake. If you don't, you'll be sleeping with the fishes. What? Defrosting ourselves and moving out of the winter into the warmer summer months, you'll now notice beehives are spawning on trees during the summer. Just be aware that they are still quite rare to stumble across, so you may need to do quite a bit of searching before you come across one. You can use an axe or a pickaxe to harvest the honey from the hives, which can then be either eaten raw or used in cooking recipes. Honey is the only item providing a max health and stamina boost in its raw form in the game right now. You're also going to keep in mind that beehives are protected by, as you probably guessed, bee swarms. The bees will leave you alone so long as you don't try to harvest their honey, but the second you try to yogi things up and collect all the sweet nectar inside those honeycomb walls, those little stingy bastards are going to attack you harder than the rest of Canada attacks Justin Bieber for Leaf fans. And that's saying a lot. Not to worry though, there is a Craftable Elixir which will reduce the effects of the bee attack. That can be crafted through your character crafting menu, which you will see on screen here with the components required. Some new harvestable flora have been added to help survive those long, dreary Canadian-esque winter months. Rosehip berries have been added into the game to take the place of blueberries during the winter. You can eat these little tart nuggets to get some nutrition, but be warned, they are very sour, and as such, you will incur a hydration penalty when you eat them. Make sure that you keep plenty of water on hand if you plan to make these your go-to emergency food when you're running low during a long session of exploring. Underwater caves will now also spawn mushrooms. They can grow on cave rocks and can be eaten raw. And while there are no recipes as of yet, our stout-hearted dev assures us that they will be coming soon, trademark. Just keep in mind that when you do go cave diving for crystal coal and these delicious mushrooms, that the water temperatures are now seasonal. That means that you can expect much more significant heat loss in those winter months when you're spelunking in the caves. In further wildlife news, lakes and ponds now have fish spawning depending on the water body size and the time of year. Catfish can be caught in ponds, but don't live in the larger lakes. Pike can only be caught in lakes, and perch and crawfish can be caught in either body of water. The catfish and pike must be caught with a rod and tackle, while perch can be caught in fish traps or by rod, and crawfish can only be caught by trap. Players should also keep in mind that perch can either be eaten or harvested for fish oil, just like the big brother, the salmon. So when you're cooking them, you got to make the decision if you're going to starve to death or actually craft some useful components. Also, remember, crawfish must be cooked before being eaten, as eating those raw can result in an infection. Crawfish do not yield fish oil when they're cooked. Previously, there was no difference in what fish could be caught at what time of year. As of this update, certain fish only spawn at certain times of year. Unfortunately, that means no more winter salmon bonanza barbecues for you and your clan. Sorry, guys. Also of note, the fishing rod itself has been changed. Now when you will strike and hook a fish, you can hold the reel key during the strike animation and it will begin reeling in once it's complete. Welcome change, I'm sure you'll agree. For those of you out there that don't like the bow, I'm sorry to say it's time for you to start brushing up on your archery skills, because small animals like rabbits and chickens will now be obliterated by any firearm. In order to harvest their meat, skin, or feathers, you're going to need to use a bow or construct and bait an animal trap. If you do shoot them with a gun, it will result in them being blasted into chunky salsa, and their corpses will only be useful for decaying into rotten meat. You've been warned. In the construction arena, we've been blessed with curved and slanted glass walls to let the sun shine into our bases, which could be providing us with many new design options and allowing for solariums and greenhouses to be constructed. So let's get to lightening those dark, dreary interiors, shall we? In other news, animal AI pathing has been updated, finally squashing the bug that allowed players to trick predators into getting stuck in a tree so they could be hacked to death with our axe. So you're going to have to be careful baiting cougars now, okay? Initial testing seems to indicate that the AI is still borked with regards to cliff faces, so feel free to keep exploiting that until it gets patched out. And I'm guessing you're asking, what should you be doing with all these new resources that the world has to offer? Well, I have one suggestion. New recipes have been added for honey glazed pork and sauteed vegetables, the highest tier meal that can be cooked with the frying pan now. You will need pork chops, honey, and any grown vegetable in order to craft it. Yum, yum, yummy! Fish steaks can be crafted from bass, pike, salmon, and catfish as well. And while the fillets can be eaten raw safely, the nutrition values are substantially higher when they are cooked. No rice or seaweed to make sushi yet, it would seem, but we can hold out hope. Just remember that salmon steaks are still top of the watery food chain and will always provide the best nutrition values compared to other fish. Server admins will be happy to note that the long-requested free camera mode has been implemented. When logged in as an admin in a dedicated server, type, quote, Freecam, quote, into the console commands to enter Freecam mode and fly around the map freely in a state detached from your character. Speed is adjusted by the mouse wheel, and collision geometries are still in effect, so you can't no-clip into the ground. Sorry. Admins will also be happy to note that the teleport to player commands have been implemented. Simply log in as an admin on your dedicated server, open the in-game stats menu, and select the person you want to teleport to. This will present a button to trigger the teleport with the other admin buttons on the right side. Keep in mind, this will be in free cam mode, so your character will not be physically there, and the player being observed will not be aware your camera is present, which is going to be great for catching people who are exploiting or hacking. A number of back-end improvements have also been made to the system. Firstly, player stats have been updated on the back end to reflect all the new changes to the system, so if you really want to know how many times you've been mauled to death by wolves, your curiosity can now be sated. Save load functions have been made asynchronous, which should result in all of us having much better graphic performance when loading up and saving to private or dedicated servers. Harvesting hitboxes have been updated, finally resulting in an end to those annoying scenarios where you whack a tree and hear a noise but nothing comes out. No build zones have finally been implemented, which will stop griefers from blocking off areas that should have been accessible to everyone on the server, such as underwater caves. Temperature errors displayed in the HUD have been addressed. Previously, players experienced the temperature displayed in the top left as not jiving with their stats and the benefits provided by the equipped clothing. This is now fixed and everything should be synced. No more frostbitten nipples for you, my friends. The temperature penalty for being wet in hardcore mode has been increased from -4 to -5.5 degrees Celsius. Easy and normal mode penalties will remain unchanged at -2 and -4 degrees Celsius. In a scenario that would make Schrödinger proud, animals caught in traps used to appear as alive when in fact they were actually dead, but you didn't discover that fact until you opened the trap. This has now been repaired, and quantum physicists everywhere are breathing a sigh of relief. Additionally, strawberries and rosehip berries can be used to bait traps during winter. This means you can now dine on Bugs Bunny and Church's chicken all year long if you like. And finally, an exploit has been patched, preventing scumbags from accessing containers inside bases during the spawning process. Previously, said scumbags could access containers inside another player base due to the server taking time to load all the assets in. This is no longer possible, meaning that the scumbags will have to go out and find damn resources themselves. Glorious! There are also a number of smaller changes which I haven't addressed here. I'll leave a link in the description directly to the patch notes if you're curious and want to read up for yourself. And with that, I think it's safe to call this update a success. If you've enjoyed my content, please consider leaving a like and subscribe if you'd like to be notified whenever I upload the latest video updates. You can also subscribe to me on Twitter or Twitch. Links are in the description. In the meantime, stay safe, hosers, and watch out for those damn bears.